In 2004, over 10 years ago, the Brazos River Authority filed an application with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality for a water right known today as a System Operation Permit. The purpose of the System Operation Permit is to provide the BRA with greater latitude in more effectively utilizing the water resources of the Brazos River Basin. These scenes from around some of the BRA's lakes are all too common, not only here, but in other river basins statewide. As you can see, the BRA has been around for quite some time. During our early years, we were headquartered in the Baker Hotel in Mineral Wells and had one reservoir, Possum Kingdom Lake. Our mission statement is derived from our enabling legislation, and we hope it adequately describes who we are, what we are about, and where we are going. Organizationally, we function through three geographic regions: upper, central, and lower. Each region is unique in terms of geography, climate, and facilities. In the upper river basin, we have two of the three BRA-owned reservoirs, plus a raw water pipeline system which extends to the west. In the Central Basin, we have water stored in 7 reservoirs operated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, plus another pipeline which connects 2 of them. In this region, we also operate water and wastewater treatment plants for 4 cities and own and operate another water treatment plant at Lake Granger. In the Lower Basin, we have our other BRA-owned reservoir, water stored in another USACE reservoir, and the site of the permitted but yet to be constructed Allen's Creek Reservoir. We also operate wastewater treatment plants for 2 cities in this region as well. The water we store in the 11 reservoirs is there due to permits acquired from the state of Texas. As you may know, surface water in Texas is owned by the state, and you must apply for a permit in order to divert that water for use. Interestingly, the Brazos River Authority's 660,000 acre-feet of water represents only about 1/3 of the permitted water to the Brazos Basin. Half of the water we sell is to municipalities to meet the needs of their residents. Of our top 10 customers, however, our biggest ones are electric generation companies, with municipal uses divided among several communities throughout the basin. Since the construction of the Morris Shepherd Dam and the impoundment of Possum Kingdom Lake, the BRA was actively involved in construction of reservoirs basin-wide. You can see that most of the reservoir storage was built over a 30-year time frame, during which demand for that water increased at a very slow rate. And even though no additional reservoirs have been constructed in the last 2.5 decades, demand continues to increase as the population of the basin grows. Here are just a few means by which the BRA tries to meet the expanding water demands of our basin. From the current reservoirs that serve as a backbone of our water supply system, through the stewardship of conservation, to the focus on evolving technology and water management practices, BRA is actively involved in all aspects. Unfortunately, as you go through this list of options, some of them are complex and very expensive. However, we would like to focus today on the system operation of the reservoirs of our basin and how that project can bring on a new, less expensive, and environmentally sound source of water to meet the needs of the near future. Other projects, such as those listed above, will be required to eventually meet all needs in the basin. It starts with the lakes and the original reason they were constructed to meet the water needs of a growing population and active economy throughout the Brazos Basin. Lakes add to water reliability. They fill up when it rains, and then that water either evaporates or is put to beneficial use by one of our water supply system customers. Lakes are typically rated on how well they can perform through a repeat of the worst drought on record. Without the benefit of a reservoir, water diversions are highly dependent on flows in our rivers. If the flow drops, diversions may need to stop. For over 50 years, we have known that the basin could potentially supply more water for beneficial use than just that stored in our reservoirs. But it wasn't until the sophisticated water availability models, funded through the passage of Senate Bill 1 in 1997, that we had a means to determine just how much. And that is the purpose of the BRA's System Operation Permit and Water Management Plan. Here's what the permit will do. Return flows from municipal treatment plants, coupled with water that comes into the river downstream of our reservoirs, can meet some of the needs within our basin in an environmentally sensitive way. Facilities such as steam electric generation plants do not consume all of the water they take in. Plus, wastewater treatment plants, after meeting water quality requirements, discharge into the streams. Often rains fall in the watersheds downstream of our lakes and flow unchecked and unused into the Gulf of Mexico. But what if the BRA's customers were able to divert and beneficially use that water in lieu of the BRA making releases from its reservoirs? As a part of the water management plan written for the System Operation Permit, the BRA has volunteered to undertake water quality studies throughout the basin to collect data in support of the Senate Bill 3 environmental flow standards. There had been a lot of misinformation broadcast about the permit and the BRA's intent. Here's what you might be hearing, and here's reality, all of which was proven up during the hearings. This permit is going to take all the water in the basin. That's not true. The regional water plans for all three of the planning regions in the Brazos Basin include additional water supply projects, some by the BRA and some by other water providers. More than what is currently needed. This misrepresents the findings in the State Water Plan that even with the System Operation Permit, the demand for more water supply in the Brazos Basin is still unmet, and more projects will be required in the future. Trust us. This criticism assumes that the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is allowing the BRA to have a water right permit that may not be subject to the regulatory requirements for all other water rights, and nothing could be further from the truth. And with the recently approved Water Master for the Brazos Basin, oversight for compliance with water right provisions will be greater than ever. There will always be lower lake levels from now on. The BRA's reservoirs were built for water supply to meet the needs of the BRA's contracting customers. As we can see, they have performed just as planned through the past 4 to 5 years of drought, and no BRA customer has had to fully curtail their water under those contracts, even though the BRA has invoked the provisions of its drought contingency plan at certain reservoirs and may need to do so at others in the future. This permit is bad for the environment. The BRA, in conjunction with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, spent almost 4 years creating an environmental flow special condition for the original draft permit, which contemplated the requirements of Senate Bill 3 passed in 2007. Included in that work was a prototype set of criteria, which has been adapted to other basins throughout the state. The new permit, written following the adoption of SB 3 standards, requires compliance. The permit needs more studies. In January 2012, the commissioners of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality agreed with this concern and required the development of a comprehensive water management plan before the permit would be approved. The BRA has not only complied with this requirement, but has subsequently amended the original water management plan to incorporate the recently adopted Senate Bill 3 environmental flow standards. Plus, the water management plan is subject to mandatory updates every 10 years, sooner if there is a major change. Clearly, what you hear about the permit isn't quite accurate, but there's more. A few of your neighbors in other parts of the basin would also have you believe that the BRA's currently permitted lakes should stay full year-round, and the communities and industries in other parts of the basin that rely on that water just aren't that important. Now let's talk about some cold, hard facts of life with respect to the need for water in the state of Texas. In 2013, the BRA retained Billy Hamilton to study the effect of water on the economy of the entire Brazos Basin. Now let's see what else Mr. Hamilton has to say about water. Mr. Hamilton has looked at the effects of the drought on property tax, sales tax, and other economic indicators around the BRA's 3 reservoirs. And what he's found is that they reflect exactly what you might expect from areas that are highly dependent on one driver of their local economy. But this is not unique to the Brazos Basin or even just to Texas. Surely everyone has seen the examples of the current drought's impacts around the state and throughout the southwestern portion of this country. But what he also sees is the future and how important water supply is to the economy of this entire state. And if we don't act now, we could be out of water within the next 15 years. The industry hit earliest and the hardest in a drought is farming and ranching. Here are some more facts. A repeat of the drought of the 1950s would have devastating impact on this state's economy. Billions of dollars of lost productivity and the resulting implications for higher bills at the grocery store. Now, how about the other sectors of the economy? Drought impacts all of us, either directly or indirectly. And those impacts are not just around the lakes. They reverberate throughout the basin and the state, hitting all governmental entities in their pocketbook, putting lots of folks out of work, adding to the burden on governmental programs. In other words, if we don't start now, in less than 50 years, half of our population will have access to less than half of the water they need. So why are we here today? Just as those who would have the BRA fail in its mission have tried to get their word out, we need you to spread the truth. Here's what you can do. Make sure your neighbors, your local government officials, and your friends are aware of the efforts by the Brazos River Authority to make more water available for economic growth. Tell them about the System Operations Permit and how vital it is to the region. Contact your elected officials in Austin and let them know you support efforts to create additional water resources throughout the state. Encourage them to tell the TCEQ to approve the System Operation Permit. Make your voice heard from an informed perspective so that those who have an agenda to selfishly meet their own local needs are not the only ones sharing their opinions. Because if the BRA fails, the consequences of not meeting the water supply needs of the Brazos Basin will impact us all. Thank you for your time and attention today. You can visit our website at www.brazos.org for more information, or like us on Facebook to keep track of what's going on with the Brazos River Authority. Now we will try to answer your questions at this time.